Hey, welcome to Diary 101 podcast. I am your host, Akakandelwa Kandepwe, also known as Aka. One of my favorite things in this world will always being able to have an opportunity to talk to amazing women that are doing big stuff. It's like one time I'll bring my grandmother on, but I get so excited because when you talk about women and the work that they're doing, you kind of have a picture of how far as a gender we have come, how far we still have to go, but just being able to be in a space where I can share stories that I hopefully motivate or influence other young women is one of my goals in this world, and I'm so grateful for it. Today's guest is Ambassador Mary Chirwa. She is one of the most celebrated and courageous public servants whose career in law enforcement and intelligence has left a lasting mark on the fight against corruption, financial crime, and drug trafficking in Zambia. Starting out as a police constable, she rose the ranks to lead two of the most powerful institutions, the Financial Center and the Drug Enforcement Commission. I am so excited. So today, she continues to serve the country as a diplomat in the Zambian High Commission to Mozambique. With all that being said, please welcome Ambassador Mary. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Aka. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm so excited and grateful for the opportunity you have given me to be on your podcast today.
I am so grateful that you're here. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it's always exciting to speak to women that have influence and are doing the Lord's work, but also most importantly, inspiring us young women that are growing through the ranks in whatever we're doing to just pursue excellence and with integrity. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. I'm grateful to God for the opportunity.
When you look back to your life, what advice would you give young Mary?
Keep the confidence. Never lose sight on what is important. And that is really knowing that your life is governed by God. And so in whatever you do, seek God's guidance. I think that would be my one sentence to my children. I have 6 children, so they know that is what I always tell them. So outside everything else, that is the first issue that I would say.
I love that. When you also just look back to your life again, to a younger version of you, what's the one thing that you would have said, oh, I should have known better? Or maybe, it makes sense now as I'm older with children and raising a family, and I thought this wasn't accurate when I was younger. So what's that one thing you look back and say, oh, I should have known better?
One thing that I've really come to appreciate now that I'm on the 5th floor of life is that every decision has consequences. And life is literally made up of decisions. You either decide to wake up or not to wake up. You decide to exercise or not to exercise. But whatever decision you make, good or bad, it has consequences. And there are certain decisions that we have made in life that you would think probably I should have made a better decision there.
So you have a very intriguing career path that I think one time I asked somebody, like, how do you even get into this path and climb into the corporate ladder? But firstly, well, not even the corporate ladder, the public ladder, to be specific. What drew you to a career in law enforcement and public service?
You know what? My to say the truth, my story might be boring because I'll always take you back to the fact that I know and I feel that my life has been literally orchestrated by God, in the sense that sometimes we are where we are, not because we have done anything better than others, but literally because we have walked the path that God wants us to walk. If I give you a brief background of myself, I grew up as a child of civil servants. I think by the time my brain was able to know what's going on, I think after 8 years or 9 years of age, I was a daughter of a magistrate. My mother was a secretary then. And because of those careers of theirs, we moved from town to town. We lived in Kasama, we lived in Kitwe. And at the age of 11, I lost my dad and moved on in life with my mom, whom unfortunately I lost at the age of 18. And having lost my parents at that tender age was devastating, but also strengthened me in a way to want to be there for my siblings. I'm the second in a family of 5, and I really wanted to be there for my siblings. Our last born, by the time mom was dying, was I think around 8 years old. So as the first girl, it felt on me that I needed to take care of this child. And so going into law enforcement, my mom used to be a secretary at a Drug Enforcement Commission by the time she was passing on. That is by the time I was finishing my grade 12. So that is the only route that I went to cry for a job. And I can assure you, I used to walk from Kaunda Square, Stage 2, where we were staying, to Long Acres, where the Drug Enforcement Commission, which I eventually came to head at one point, was. And at that time, there was Commissioner Mukutuli Sinyani. And I already had my diploma in accounts then, but they did not have a vacancy in accounting. They were only recruiting police constables in their security department. And I said what I needed was a job, because I needed to assist with my siblings. So that is how I got into government, 1997, and I was sent for military training. We went for 6 months at Kohima Barracks. Came back. We were the first to be trained for DEC in my cohort, and came back as a police constable, and started from the gate at DEC, opening the gate for senior people, moved to the reception. Then I was moved to a department which they called technical department. So that's really, that was my beginning, the beginning of my career in government.
That's such an interesting path, and that's so realistic. I don't actually find it boring. I find it very realistic and true. I think that a lot of people in your generation were given, when such a calamity happens, you're always tasked with yourself to say, I have to take care of my siblings. I see that I saw that with my grandparents. When every time my grandfather's sibling would die, they would all go after the funeral. They'd be like, me, I'm taking this child, the others. They would split children amongst themselves. It just shows how the older generation is more rooted in family. And again, it's something we should all be trying to conceive, because I think it's very important to be rooted in family. One thing you also just mentioned that stuck with me is your parents were both in civil service. And you know, when you hear about civil servants and civil service, there's so many misconceptions about them. Or we actually don't know what that really means. So from your perspective, what does it really mean to be a civil servant, and why is it such an important role required in a country or in just society?
Civil service is firstly a career of service. You serve the larger public, and it's a path that requires people of integrity to push government machinery, because in everything you do, regardless of which department or which sector of the civil service you are serving someone. Whatever you are doing is impacting on the bigger picture. So it's really a career of service to others, regardless whether you are a police officer, you are a nurse, you are a secretary there, you are in the judiciary, you are at livestock, whichever wing you are literally serving the public for the better good.
That's so true. And I like how you have broken it down to say it's all about serving the public to the better good, because majority of a society or the public moving is the service the government offers and the civil servants that are leading or working in those institutions. One of my favorite things about you is that you went from a police constable, like you mentioned earlier, opening gates for big people, for the big people in the organization, for you to now be up for the gate to be opened for you. How was that transition from constable to reception to working in a technical department? What are some of the moves that you made to kind of equip yourself to start holding those positions?
Oh my God, I can write a book.
Please do. I'll buy.
Every chapter will be starting with it's by God's grace. It's by God's grace. You know, when I was young, after the passing of my dad, one thing Mom taught us was really our reliance on God. And I remember mastering Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, and he makes me lie down in green pastures, he leads me beside still waters, he restores my soul, he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil. You know, that chapter has lived with me. I made my siblings memorize it, and we recited it in church and so on. And so, coming back to your question, I believed that I needed to always dedicate my path and my plans to God. And in everything, I would ask God to guide me. And when people say God talks to us in dreams and visions, personally, I have experienced it, because I've seen the hand of God in my life, and God and speaking to I don't know if it's the Holy Spirit or God, whatever, but I do receive guidance when I ask for it. So the first things first, I told myself I needed to be focused. And my father taught me that education was the key. So as much as I went into that institution with a diploma, I told myself if I had to rise through the ranks, I had to take myself to school. So I did my very best to enroll myself back into school to ensure that I did my higher diploma, went into my master's, and so on. So the first thing I can say is I remained focused on my career and improving myself, not only academically, but I've always read books, especially for Miles Monroe. I think people who have read his books can assure you, can attest to the fact that he talks so much about finding your purpose in life and also embracing issues of integrity, knowing what you are supposed to do at a particular time. So for me to rise through the ranks, I was a person of diligence. I think my superiors then could see through me that when I put my mind to something, I'll make sure I do it to its perfection. I moved on to the accounts department, where I managed to have the institution a clear audit queries within record time. Then I was moved to the anti-money laundering investigations unit, which I would say really now started my career in financial investigations. I went there as a supervisor for one of the teams. I had the best supervisors at that time. There was Mr. Koi and Mr. Solomon Ngoma, and they groomed me until I eventually headed the same department as a senior assistant commissioner, rising through the ranks through hard work, of course. And at one point in 2013, there was change of command at DEC. And unfortunately, all the senior assistant commissioners then, we went through a very devastating episode. We were put on forced leave. Sometimes government changes comes with its own painful episodes. And during that period, I really grew closer to God, asking for guidance. And I was happy, or an opportunity availed itself, where the Financial Intelligence Center was just starting. And when I applied, I think there were 14 contestants. I was the only lady, and I went through rigorous interviews and got the top job as the Director General. That was 2013 for the Financial Intelligence Center, and I was the first Director General for the institution, which I served for 9 years, 9+ years. So really, that was my rise into the ranks until the UPND government, when they came into power, appointed me to go and head the Drug Enforcement Commission for about 1 year, 4 months, and then moved me to Mozambique as a High Commissioner, and later, after a year, moved me. Now I'm in Belgium, covering the Benelux countries, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Netherlands, and a permanent representative to the European Union. So all this journey, when I put it together and when I look back, I still come back to the statement that I made earlier, that it is all by God's grace. God has me where He wants me at a particular time.
That's such an interesting path, and it also shows that it has taken time. It just hasn't happened. It just didn't happen so instantly. It took time, and you have done different paths. I love that you mentioned that the main thing was to stay focused, and education is the key. I think your dad and my grandfather would like each other. My grandfather was always like, they can take everything from you, but they will never take the education you have. You have to go to school. And that's something I appreciate about my grandparents, was just the emphasis on all of us going to school, and why education is such a key. You are a woman that was rising in the ranks quickly, I must add. What are some of the challenges that you faced as a woman in leadership, and what are some of the things that you noticed that could have been done better?
Again, Aka, being a woman, being a woman is not easy. I know men who also say being a man is not easy, but I'm speaking for a woman. That's the only experience I have. Being a woman in career is not easy. I'll tell you that the whole reason I still take you back to God is the fact that sometimes there are certain things that happen which should bring you down, but in the process, they catapult you to another level. When I was in the accounts department for drug enforcement, I can't now remember the year, but I was still very young then. I should have been in my 20-something years, because I started work, I think, when I was 22, 23. Yeah, when I was in that office, the unfortunate part that happened was that one of the senior officers was after me in terms of wanting me as to be a girlfriend. These are realities that young girls, and I hope that someone will listen out there, that they'll face. And this didn't happen to me only once. Because I could not budge, I could not forward to saying yes to that person. My punishment was to be chucked out of the accounts department. That is how I found myself in the anti-money laundering unit. Now, to them, that was a punishment. But to God, that was my beginning of a career. So you face different challenges. Apart from that experience, I had a similar one again after I reached the level of assistant commissioner, and I was heading the money laundering department at that time. Again, I had similar issues where the top brass, one of the top brass also wanted a relationship, and because I had vowed, train up a child in the way they should go, so that when they are old, they shall not depart from it, the Bible says. And my mother taught me well in that direction. I did not budge to office relationships. I was ready to face whatever consequence by me doing the right thing, because it says excellence is you doing the right thing even if no one is watching. And so in embracing that, I was chucked out of Lusaka on a transfer to Livingstone, where I was Deputy Regional Commander for Southern Province for 2 years. I suffered. In Livingstone, I suffered with my family. My husband then, who is late, may his soul rest in peace, had to stop work as a teacher for us to maintain our family. And it was very devastating for him. And but I was in a better position, and therefore he had to go with me and the kids to Livingstone. At that time, we had 3 kids, and so I experienced those office issues because of my stance of not wanting to bend in terms of my values. So in this career, in this life, you face these challenges. They are there all the time. You face them. In terms of having fights with criminals, those I cannot even begin to say, because I've found myself in papers being written about nonsense because of my stance of not wanting to bend, to be corrupted, or to sit on certain cases. And because people are not happy, they will look for anything outside your office career that they will talk about. But the one thing that I think I can say to whoever might listen to this is that integrity is all. You can do all these things, but if you injure your own integrity, you will never forgive yourself. So excellence is the key. Do the right thing even if no one is watching. Somebody can come with a suitcase of money. The doors are closed. We are just the two of us. But what is your mind telling you? I'm a mother. I need to be a role model to my children. What is it that I'll be teaching my children if I take shortcuts in life? You know, I have 4 girls. I have 2 guys. If I sleep with someone for me to get a promotion, what will I teach my daughter tomorrow? Because now she's 23 and she's working. Will I tell her it's okay if her boss wants to sleep with her for her to get a promotion? No. So we face so many challenges as women in these offices, but if you uphold integrity, you will never go wrong because God never leaves his own.
True. You mentioned something very important and something I face, and I'm sure most of young women face, and are in the public service or private sector, building it, want to go into the ranks, is men just wanting to sleep with you. I realized that I didn't know to what extent it was until I started working. Because I run a business, right? I run a business, but I work part-time. I didn't understand what it was. My friends would talk about it. My friends are older. They would talk about it and would have conversations about this. I still didn't believe. Until it started happening to me, then it happens to me, then I maybe vent to somebody or tell them what's actually happening. And they say, you know what, it's actually normal. It's the fact that it's been normalized. Like, how do you normalize that? And I always like to say, imagine if that was your child. Imagine me as your child. You'd want your child to sleep to get a promotion, to get a contract, or to get something done. And for you as a parent, and you've been in this situation, what advice would you give young women that are, we are in these situations actually, not that are, we are in these situations. What advice would you tell us? Something practical that they can also just implement as they try to build their careers.
For women, first and foremost, know that your body is a temple of God. So if you have embraced self-love, a value system that you would not allow yourself to be used for anything, regardless. And I don't want to sound like I'm preaching, but I'll still say, if you believe that God will take care of you regardless, do not be swayed, do not fear. Yes, the consequences are real. Like I said, every decision has a consequence. Consequences are real. You will say no and you'll be fired. You will say no, you will be transferred. Like, I was lucky that I was just transferred, but at the end of the day, I still stand as a proud person because I did not have to compromise my values to get something that I know God will still give me in one way or another, even if I lost it. The other thing, I'm glad, Aka, that you're an entrepreneur and you have your own business. When I say life is about decision making, I wish I had made a decision a long time ago to start a business that my children would inherit. And I have started building that legacy for them. Even if I die, they'll have something to remain with, to lean on. But most of civil servants, most of career people depend on their jobs so much, which no child, no one can inherit. Today you die, tomorrow they replace you. So really, for young women, think of having your own businesses. Think of valuing yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and appreciate yourself, that no one, I don't know if this broadcast is rated, if it's wrong to mention sex, but I'll say sex is a memento thing. It's a memento thing. People will enjoy it for a few minutes, and then the rest of your life you are dirty. You'll never recover from it. You'll never retrieve what has happened in that moment. It's not something you can bath off. So you can pretend all you want, but you remain dirty inside, feeling you are this container that was just used and somebody moves on. Especially that we women, our organs are internal. Oh my God. We need to value ourselves. When you value yourself, you will not allow yourself to be used for nothing. But you must have something that you are relying on. The way I rely on God, I don't care if today you chase me, you fire me because I've refused to do something wrong. No, because I know my God will take care of me in my next stage. So you can close this door, another door will be opened.
That's really good advice. Thank you so much. And there's so much to take from that and from your experience. And I'm just glad that we've openly talked about it, because the other thing is we don't talk about a lot of things, even if we're not talking about them publicly, just even in private conversations. One thing about me is I'll vent at home. And I realized that everybody was going through this because they're all working, but no one would come home and just vent. Like, I'm venting to my mom, I'm venting to my uncles. And then I'm actually telling them, like, one of the reasons why this is happening is because this and this person wants this and I don't want. And so now that I'm working, they're always like, now that we're working, we all know what happens in the workplace, because Aka will come and she will be like, this happened and it happened like this, and I didn't like it and I don't think this can work out for me. And they're always like, okay, we're really trying to understand Aka in this season. So yeah, just having a space as well, home or just with friends, I think it's also just a very important factor, because then you realize that it's not happening to you alone, and it's also just not normal. So just having people,
it's just not normal, Aka. And we need to open up to our children. We need to open up to everybody else. We need to talk about these things because they are real. And because people fear, they will not talk about them and they'll do it. And if it's an office environment, you can find that 10 people are sleeping with one person.
Sure.
Because each one is keeping to themselves, thinking, maybe I'm the special one, or maybe if I tell my friend, they'll laugh at me, and so on. We need to open up. I have, like I've told you, I've got girl children, and I've tried by all means to ensure that we talk about these things. When you go to school, sometimes your own teacher, me, I was a head girl at Njase Girls. One of the teachers there, when I was in grade 11, wanted these sexual advances where they'll call you to the office, you sit there, they want to touch your thigh and so on. I had to drop one of the subjects. Instead of taking 8, I started taking 7 from that tender age, because I could not allow somebody to violate my privacy. So it starts from there, from a tender age. Now that my daughter is working, I pray every day, God, give her the grace, because I know what happens in these offices. When she's saying, I'm going on a trip with my boss, I'm saying, please make sure you have your own room, you lock it, because I've had instances where you've traveled with your boss and in the night they want to knock on your door. These are real things that happen, and people should not run away from them. They should not. If you don't talk about them, your children will go through them.
True. And funny enough, I also relate to the high school incident. It actually happened to me a couple of times. And I think I mentioned to my grandmother earlier last year, and she's like, why didn't you say? Like, that happened. That almost happened. Someone said that to your face and you didn't come back home. I'm like, I don't know if I was allowed to kind of go back home and open up. But yeah, my physics teacher by then, when I graduated high school, he then saw me and said, can I give you a lift? Can we go to a lodge? And I was like, what do you mean?
Okay.
I'm like, I'm just a baby. You saw me grow up. Like, it doesn't add up. It's so interesting that also what you go through is actually what we have gone through. And I'm sure people my age and somebody else in high school is probably going through the same thing. So certain challenges really just trickle down, and the behaviors continue even if it's generation to generation, because again, these things have been normalized and we're not publicly talking about them enough to say what's going on. Like, our kids are suffering. Like, what's really the matter?
Yeah, it's society that has condoned the wrong practices. In most cases, actually, you'll find that the person who is doing the right thing is the one who is actually labeled. For me, in my career, you will find people saying she's a penguin. You know, a penguin keeps the what do you call them? You know, the flaps, the wings to the body, like they don't open up. So because you don't stretch your hand to get corrupted, they start calling you, that person is a penguin. I remember my one of my bosses who used to call me a pastor, a bishop. Why? Because you refused. So you get all these, all sorts of names and so on. And this bullying, if it's in schools, it's real. Even a boy child, you'll find that they'll be molested, but they'll be afraid of talking about it, because how will mom look at me? How will dad look at me? How will my friends look at me? They'll not say that big boy molested me in this way and so on. The world has changed. We need to talk about these things. If we don't, and we don't spend time with our children. When I worked in Drug Enforcement Commission, one of the things, especially when I was at the helm of the institution, because then I was exposed to all the departments of the commission, and one of the departments there deals with drug trafficking and counseling sessions. And when I would get the reports from there, you can cry, because you have these children that are addicted, and the whole reason they are giving is, my parents have had no time for me. They can give me money, but they have no time for me. So we have stopped this issue of patebo and so on. That is the place where you can see whether your child is changing, or whether there's something sinister that is happening. And because we are also busy, we will leave our children at the phone in you are also busy with your own life. But we have a responsibility as parents to bring up our children in a way that, in a godly manner, so that they become responsible citizens. So the reason that people have embraced these things is there's no accountability. There's no accountability. Teachers can molest the kids, and probably they'll just be transferred from one school to the other.
To molest another kid.
You know? So we need really to have stringent measures put in place to protect our children, both a girl child and a boy child, because we should not run away that these issues of LBGT, I don't know all the letters that have been put into the lesbianism and so on, is happening.
Yeah, it is.
You know, but we want to sugarcoat and not talk so much about it when our own children are being affected. There's a saying that was there, I think, when HIV just became very known, that if you are not infected, you are affected, which is very true. You know? So if it's not your child today, it may be your niece, your nephew. We need to take our responsibility for our society.
Yes, I think the key thing is people taking personal responsibility. That will make society more responsible, for us to start taking collective responsibility. I think that actually know that the reason why we all have different views is we don't take responsibility. It's just a lack of responsibility. We need to take more responsibility for a lot of stuff that are happening, and actually just call them out, like call them out a lot, and not feel shame for calling them out.
Very true.
Yeah. What does it really mean to lead the Anti-Corruption Commission? It's
a huge responsibility, believe you me, because not only are you serving the nation and the public at large, but you are safeguarding the state asset, which is the money itself, and trying to stop illicit flows and it comes with its own how can I put it? With its own challenges in terms of internally and externally, people trying to bribe you. Running such an institution requires a lot of integrity. That is the first quality that I will tell you. One has to be a leader who is a person of integrity, not only looking at the academic qualifications of is this person an accountant or a lawyer or an auditor and so on, that they're able to understand financial matters and legal issues. And therefore, for me, it's really looking at what can you do to contribute in the eradication of poverty. Because if you understand that the vice that you are trying to stop will ensure that government has the right resources to put into our education system, to put into our health system, and other sectors that benefit the public, then you will know that it's not a small responsibility.
That's very interesting. That actually leads me to my next question, which is, what are the systematic changes do you believe are the most necessary for long-term improvement in governance?
We need sustainable institutions that can we need institutions of I'll still use the word integrity. I can't run away from this word. We need strong institutions of integrity, institutions that can stand the test of time, that have systems that do not break down because one person has gone away. If you have seen, sometimes an institution goes with the reputation of a person. Yeah. And so it means that it starts with the leadership, the kind of leadership that we choose to govern these institutions matters, and the systems therein that are embedded into the system. Just because I become a director general at DEC does not mean that I should flex the institution by employing my relatives who cannot do the job. So we must have institutions that have got systems that are transparent and cannot bend. Treat each person as equal. Let's not look at ourselves when we are in these institutions. Let's create institutions that have got the 5 pillars of governance. You know, when you talk of transparency, accountability, responsibility, and all those are the things that we need to embed in these institutions, that even if today we do not have a President Akakandelwa Kandepwe in office, we will still have a cabinet office that will deal with the civil service the way he deals with it. We will still have a police service that will be executing their duties with integrity. We will still have all these other departments that will do their work correctly. So we need to create institutions of integrity. I think that is the way I can say it. There are so many ways of ensuring that these are done, but the first thing is getting the right people in the right offices.
That's so true, and I like that everything we're talking about is bringing us back to the word integrity, and I think that's such an important aspect that we need to build. Everything can go so well if we, at the helm of everything, we have the right people that have integrity lead us. So thank you so much for that. How was the transition from being commissioner to ambassador for you?
I love that question. It wasn't easy. it wasn't easy in the sense that I faced, I'm a certified anti-money laundering specialist. Really, it's like my bone marrow is that of being articulate in financial investigations. And I love that job with a passion. And I did it for so long. And it's a job that I could strategize and look at a case, and very easy for me to say, okay, guys, if we are looking at this case and these are the offenses, have all the ingredients been made, so that we even when we are going to the DPP's office, I know we have watertight cases. Same way with a financial intelligence center, because what you do there is preliminary to what the law enforcement does. So I was in my comfort zone. I was in the right place. And I'd built my career around financial investigations. So being moved from there into the diplomatic service felt like a blow to my head. At that time, I will not beat about the bush. I was not ready. I was really in the middle, in the gist of my work and strategizing. I'd put my teams in place, knowing, okay, these can execute this. I had all mapped it out, planned it out in my head, and how results would start coming, how I would serve my nation in that capacity. And I'm glad that results from what I did in that 1 year, 4 months spoke for itself, and we've had convictions from the cases that I handled with my team. Diplomatic service was a different ballgame because I'd already done a training in diplomacy just out of interest, and the fact that my previous work entitled me to interact with different people. So I thought I needed that. So I already had that in the envelope of my qualifications. But coming in the actual job was something else. For me, at first, Mozambique felt like I'd been punished, being taken there, and work was a bit slow. You really had to create these synergies. You need to create networks. You needed to know exactly what does my country want? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing here? So it was a learning process. But like I'm saying, for me, for everything, I pray. Because I had a choice. I had a decision to make there. Should I accept the position or should I reject the position? But when I prayed, it was clear for me that God wanted me to go that direction. And I see now why God wanted me to go that direction. In the place that I've ended up now in Belgium, I'm enjoying the diplomacy work, the interactions with investors, the EU, the other commissions or diplomatic assignments that I have. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey, but I didn't like it at first, like offhand, because it took me out of my comfort zone. But now I've realized that law enforcement had put me sort of in a cocoon. My concentration then was really looking at who is pilfering government coffers and how do I get it back in terms of assets, and how do we prosecute the culprits. But coming into the diplomatic circle, really you start looking at issues of international investments, international trade. How do we get money into our country for us to improve or to enhance development, sustainable development in our country? And that has really just opened my mind into a whole different realm, which I've embraced, and I love it. And I know God has a purpose why I'm here.
I like that. And I'm a fan of transitions because I think that in life there are so many transitions that would be happening. And earlier you spoke about being in the fifth floor. What are some of the things that you're enjoying doing now that you never used to enjoy earlier on in your life?
My life has been busy. My my life has been busy. I've always embraced reading and studying as much as I've been a mother. But now climbing to the fifth floor, you realize that you have only one life, and you do need your me time. I've been one person that I think really gives my time to my children, to everybody else, and probably I haven't had much time for myself. Being on the fifth floor, I've realized I need to take it easy, Mary. Take it easy. You can study, you can read, but you also need just time to say, these 2 hours, guys, is for me, or this weekend is just for me. So I've come to realize that you need to enjoy the journey as you go on. Don't be too serious and too focused on, trying to do every way goes into the investment. Hey, this life is in God's hands. We don't know when we are departing. So I've taken time also for myself.
I love that so much, and I think that I guess when the older you get, the more you are even able to kind of say and put restrictions and boundaries on what you can do and can't do, which is I think is so much fun for all of you in the fifth floor or sixth floor or the seventh floor. My grandmother is in the seventh floor.
From the fourth floor
yes,
going up.
Yeah, it looks fun. My grandmother's hobby is buying plants, and all of us have just accepted that that's where her money. She just wants her money to be in plants, and she'll ask you for money. She'll say, "Could you want to buy me that plant?" And you buy it. Then you go home. There's so many plants, and you're like, "What are we doing with these plants?" I'm starting a business. I'm like, "Great, we're happy you're busy." So I talk about my grandmother a lot, but yeah, we're always like, "Great." At least she can just focus on the plants for now. We're grateful for that process.
I'm enjoying farming. Which my children, I think, just wonder, this woman. But I would rather go home, go into my fields and all that. I think nature just comes back to you when you grow up.
Yeah.
That's why you find even the foods that we love eating. The younger ones would love, let's go out, let's have dinner there, for me, I would rather be home, eat my okra and eat my visashi, and I will enjoy that meal more than you taking me out to Nando's or wherever else. Yeah.
Mary, what advice would you give a young professional that wants to build a career in public service? What skill sets do you think they need?
Focus, discipline, integrity, consistency.
Amen.
all those things, I'll put them in one, because they have different meanings. You must be visionary. You must know what you want to get. You must have goals in life. And because if you don't have those, then you will not map up your way on how to reach there. So first, you must have a vision. You must know what you want and how you get there. And for you to achieve your vision, then you must embrace integrity. You must embrace discipline. You must embrace consistency. Because if you do not embrace these values, you can start something and leave it on the way. Lastly, ensure that God is in your corner.
Amen. I like that. Heavy on the integrity part. Focus, discipline, integrity, consistency. Keywords.
Yeah.
I feel like I have
No,
all
it's
that.
it's very important. You know, we become so enthusiastic when the year starts and say,
Mhm.
this year I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay. The first week you are there in the gym and whatever. The second week you have started, you are lacking discipline. You've started drawing back. You've forgotten what your goal is. You are lacking consistency, because without consistency, you cannot get what you want
Yeah.
to get at the end of the day. So it is in everything that you do in your
Yeah.
business. If you are not consistent with looking for people to talk to, then the podcast will die.
Yeah, true.
You know, so it really, there's no value that you can leave out. But discipline is very important, because your skills can take you up, but what will keep you up there is discipline.
True, true. No, discipline is everything. And like you mentioned, you have to be very consistent in everything you do.
Yeah.
And I like to laugh a lot about this is sometimes it's very hard to get a guest to be on the podcast. And I joke around with my team and I'm like, do you guys want to take a break? And our podcast manager is like, we're not taking a break. We are still going to release an episode on Tuesday, because Tuesday is our podcast day where we release episode. Like, we're still doing it. And I'm like, honestly, this year he's the most consistent person on just pushing us, because my motivation just dries up. Getting a guest is not the easiest, but then I love how we've all just committed to, like, come rain, come sunshine, we'll find something to release on Tuesday with high quality at our standard, but we will still do it. So yeah, it
And when
really
you are
does take
determined, there's
consistency.
nothing impossible. When you are
True.
determined, there's nothing impossible. Believe you me.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Ambassador Mary, I would like you to ask me a question.
Wow. There are very few people who have a vision and are focused to achieve that vision. Really, what I want to understand from you, you bring different people on your podcast, but obviously you have one goal. What is that goal that you're trying to achieve?
My goal is to help young people reach their full potential. And the conversations on this podcast kind of shine lights of different paths a young person can take. You know, initially when you're in high school, we all just want to be accountants, doctors, lawyers, maybe a teacher. We have such a narrow way of thinking about our life and our career or whatever we intend to do in the future. Then you go to university and you get to study that, right? You get to study law, you get to study medicine, you get to study accounting, economics, whatever that might be. Then you come in society when you graduate and you realize that there are no jobs, not even for doctors anymore. So now, how do you rebrand yourself from something you've been taught ever since you were a child? Like something you were ingrained in to just think, you know what, this path actually exists and you can find it. But then fast forward almost 6 years later, this path does exist, but opportunities there lack. And sometimes the other thing is, even if you find the job, you also just don't have the skill sets, right? Like you might know the technical know-how, you read in a book on how to do something, but you don't have the actual skill sets to do the actual work. You're not good at communication, project management, like your personality does not fit the organization, your public speaking, like so many things. And you're just like, you feel lost, because then what do I do next? Who do I go to? My parents have already taken me to school. So at this point, I really have to fend for yourself. I like to joke that when I graduated, my parents cut me off. Not true. I feel like my parents are so kind to me with my endeavors. I'm such a complex child to have. But then it did feel like that. I went from whatever amount I was getting for my allowance for school to just being cut off and being given money when you're asked. When you ask for it, but even when you ask for it, you have to negotiate. And then it's even a privilege that I can get that. But for so many people, sometimes you're just cut off and you don't know where to start from, and you just go back to your parents' house. So The goal is really just to help them reach their full potential. How do you utilize technology? How do you utilize the AI that's popping up? How do you utilize YouTube for learning? How do you even just find ways to create opportunities for you to get experience? If you're in a local place, you can get experience from your church, from your high school. Like, experience is just learning to do something, right? Because you're a high schooler, you're a university graduate. It always just says that you can be taught. Like, oh, you can be taught to do this. You can be trained actually for 4 years, but can you actually implement? So honestly, it's just helping people reach their full potential, helping young people specifically to get inspired, to invest in themselves, to transition and to reach their full potential.
You're doing it well, and may God bless you and give you more strength, more opportunities that many more should benefit from it. I believe that you are indeed helping people. Life is not easy to maneuver, but I think once you see another person succeeding, because we have everything indored in us. You start from where you are, like people say, we have everything indored in us that you can begin with, and when people understand that, they and see how others have navigated to being where they are, it becomes a starting point, and you are inspiring a lot of people. I want to commend you for real, and we thank God for you, and continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Ma. It's, again, for somebody who's such a fan. Thank you. For somebody who's such a fan of you, thank you so much for also what you have done and what you do for young women. I always like to think that I love women in high positions because I have something to aspire to. I have something to show my younger siblings or just even my friends to say, hey, look at that woman. Imagine. It's going to be us one day in those positions, making big changes, pursuing our passions, and just making the country a better place. So thank you so much for your service. It's such an inspiration for all of us.
Thank you. Can I create an episode 2?
Yes. Of course. I know what we're coming to talk about.
No, this podcast is for young people, inspiring young people. I would love to really have an opportunity where I can speak to women and single mothers, and we go through so many issues, so many challenges, and I feel that there are certain things that need to be discussed in an open environment like we have done, and I think that would be fulfilling.
I'll set that up. I'll set it up, and we will do it in the coming weeks. I can't wait. I can't wait for part 2. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, please.
So my last question to you is, what do you look forward to?
Helping many people, and that's general. Yeah. But if you ask my children, they will tell you that one of the things that really brings a smile on my face is seeing a smile on another person's face. So I look forward to having an opportunity where I can contribute to another person's smile, and in public service, I know that I have that opportunity to reach out to many in terms of empowerment, sustainable empowerment, and that is really my goal at the moment. Do unto others what you would want to be done unto you. I want to see people's lives uplifted. That would make me happy. If somebody didn't have water, give them water. If somebody didn't have a toilet, give them a toilet. Maybe my life is actually in public service.
And it's much appreciated in public service. You have done so much. You've done such an amazing job for us, and again, we're very inspired. This was such a great conversation. I had so much fun. I
I
hope you
had
do.
fun too. I did. Thank you so much.
We had so many laughters and shared moments, and also I like talking to the older generation. You remind me of my grandfather, and it's like one of my favorite things. One of my favorite people in the world is him and my grandmother, because I'm like, yes, I can finally talk about the loves of my life.
Mm. For teenagers, I remember my father saying, concentrate on school. All these men will come to you as if it's flies on Chishala. So,
I can totally relate. I
yeah,
can totally
so
relate to those comments.
please, young girls, young ladies out there, groom yourselves, concentrate on yourselves, and everything else shall come to you on a silver platter.
Amen. True and a fact. Thank you so much, Ambassador Mary. It's been a pleasure hosting you, and I had so much fun recording. And for those listening, please follow Ambassador Mary's story and also her work. I think you get to learn a lot from what she has done in public service and where she's at now and the opportunities she's bringing for women and girls and the public service as well. So thank you so much, Ambassador. I really had so much fun. I hope you did too.
Thank you so much. I did, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Bye for now.